She touched the forbidden lake. Then an ancient voice whispered, "You carry the fate of 3 worlds." Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The air on Proxima Centauri B felt different that morning. Heavier somehow, charged with an electricity that made the fine hairs on Sarah Morgan's arms stand on end. She stood at the edge of the research station's observation deck, gazing out at the alien landscape that had been her home for the past 3 years, feeling an inexplicable pull toward the shimmering body of water that the colonists had named Lake Serenity, and that the indigenous Proximans had declared strictly forbidden to all humans. Sarah had always been drawn to places where she didn't belong. As the daughter of Earth's most renowned xenobiologist and an accomplished scientist in her own right, she had spent her life pushing boundaries and challenging conventions. But even she had to admit that what she was considering now went beyond mere scientific curiosity. The lake called to her in ways she couldn't explain, ways that defied rational thought. And Sarah Morgan had always prided herself on being rational above all else. "You're doing it again," a voice said behind her, startling Sarah out of her reverie. She turned to see her colleague and friend, Dr. Nathan Brooks, watching her with a mixture of amusement and concern. His dark eyes, always keen and observant, seemed to see right through her. "Doing what?" Sarah asked, feigning innocence. Nathan leaned against the railing beside her, his gaze following hers to the distant lake. "Looking at that lake like it's the answer to every question you've ever had." Sarah smiled ruefully. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone who's been watching you obsess over it for the past 3 years," Nathan replied. "The Proximans have made it very clear that the lake is off limits. You know that better than anyone. You helped draft the treaty." Sarah sighed, running a hand through her auburn hair. "I know, but don't you ever wonder why? The Proximans share everything else with us. Their technology, their history, their culture. Why is this one lake so special?" "Maybe some things are sacred," Nathan suggested. "Not everything needs to be dissected and analyzed. Some mysteries are meant to remain mysteries." But Sarah wasn't convinced. As a scientist, she believed that every mystery had a solution, every question an answer. And the lake was the biggest question of all. "Commander Walker wants to see you," Nathan said, changing the subject. "Something about the new atmospheric readings." Sarah nodded, giving the lake one last lingering look before following Nathan back inside the station. The corridors were bustling with activity as researchers and technicians went about their daily tasks. Proxima Station housed 50 of Earth's brightest minds, all working together to understand this new world that humanity now shared with the Proximans. Commander Ethan Walker was waiting for her in the main lab, his tall frame bent over a holographic display of atmospheric data. At 55, Walker was one of the most experienced extraterrestrial colony commanders in the United Space Alliance. His salt and pepper hair and the lines around his eyes spoke of years spent in harsh alien environments, but his mind remained as sharp as ever. "Dr. Morgan," he greeted her without looking up. "I need your expertise on these readings. We're detecting some unusual fluctuations in the upper atmosphere. Could be natural, could be something else. I want your opinion." Sarah stepped closer to the display, studying the data with practiced eyes. The atmospheric composition of Proxima Centauri B was similar to Earth's in many ways, but with higher concentrations of noble gases and strange energy patterns that scientists were still trying to understand. "These energy spikes are unlike anything I've seen before," she said, pointing to several anomalous readings. "They seem to be increasing in frequency and intensity." "When did they start?" Walker pulled up a timeline. "First detected 3 months ago. Barely noticeable at first, but they've been growing steadily since then." Sarah frowned. "And no one thought to bring this to my attention until now." "We've had other priorities," Walker said, a hint of defensiveness in his tone. "The diplomatic talks with the Proximans, the new arrivals from Earth, the communication issues with Arcturus Station. Besides, atmospheric anomalies fall under Dr. Hayes's department. Dr. Hayes wouldn't recognize an atmospheric anomaly if it slapped him in the face," Sarah muttered, earning a barely suppressed smile from Walker. That may be true, he conceded, but he is the head of atmospheric sciences. Speaking of which, he should be joining us shortly to discuss these findings. As if on cue, the lab door slid open to admit Dr. Oliver Hayes, a thin, nervous man with perpetually disheveled hair and thick glasses that he constantly pushed up his nose. Hayes had a brilliant mind but lacked Sarah's intuition and creativity, which made him an excellent data analyst but a poor research lead. Dr. Morgan, Hayes acknowledged her with a curt nod. I see the commander has brought you in on my research. Sarah bit back a retort. This wasn't the time for academic territorialism. These energy patterns are concerning, Dr. Hayes. Have you correlated them with any other phenomena? Solar activity, tectonic movement, anything? Hayes shook his head. Nothing conclusive. The only pattern I've found is temporal. The spikes seem to occur most frequently during this planet's equivalent of twilight. Twilight, Sarah repeated, a new thought forming. When the red dwarf is low on the horizon, casting its light across the lake, Walker finished, following her train of thought. You think there's a connection? It's worth investigating, Sarah said, trying to keep the excitement out of her voice. This could be the legitimate scientific reason she needed to approach the lake. The lake has unusual properties. We know that much from our remote scans. Its water contains trace elements not found anywhere else on the planet. If those elements are reacting to the solar radiation in a specific way, Hayes scoffed. That's quite a leap, Dr. Morgan. And need I remind you that the lake is explicitly off-limits according to our agreement with the Proximans? For direct contact, yes, Sarah countered. But there's nothing in the treaty that prevents us from conducting remote observations or taking readings from a distance. Walker looked thoughtful. She has a point, Hayes. If these atmospheric anomalies continue to intensify, we need to understand why. The safety of the station could be at risk. Hayes didn't look convinced, but he knew better than to argue with the commander. Fine, but I want it on record that I advise caution. Duly noted, Walker said. Dr. Morgan, I'm authorizing you to lead a small team to collect data near, but not at, the lake. Take readings, gather samples of the surrounding soil and vegetation, but stay at least 50 meters from the shoreline at all times. Is that clear? Sarah nodded, trying not to let her excitement show. Perfectly clear, Commander. I'll assemble my team immediately. As she left the lab, Sarah could barely contain her anticipation. After 3 years of wondering, of dreaming, she would finally get close to the mysterious lake that had captivated her imagination since her arrival on this alien world. Nathan was waiting for her outside, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. So, what did Walker want? To give me permission to study the lake, Sarah replied, unable to keep the triumph from her voice. Nathan's eyebrows shot up. The lake? The same lake that's been strictly off-limits for the past 3 years? That lake. The very same, Sarah confirmed. Those atmospheric anomalies Walker mentioned? I suggested they might be connected to the lake's unusual properties. He's authorized me to take a team to collect data near the shoreline. Define near, Nathan said warily. 50 meters from the water, Sarah admitted. But it's closer than anyone's been allowed before. Nathan studied her face. And you're planning to stay exactly 50 meters away at all times, right? Sarah avoided his gaze. Of course. Sarah, Nathan's voice took on a warning tone. You've worked too hard to throw away your career over this obsession. Whatever is in that lake, it's not worth risking everything you've built. Sarah finally met his eyes. What if it is, Nathan? What if that lake holds the key to understanding this planet? Understanding the Proximans themselves. They've shared so much with us, but they guard that lake like it contains the secrets of the universe. Maybe it does, Nathan said quietly. And maybe there's a good reason they don't want us to know those secrets. Sarah shook her head. Science is about discovery, about pushing boundaries. If we only explored what we were explicitly invited to explore, we'd never learn anything truly new. Nathan sighed, recognizing the determined set of her jaw. At least let me come with you. Someone needs to make sure you don't do anything monumentally stupid. Sarah grinned. I was counting on it. I also want Emily Parker from Xenobiology and Tyler Grant from Security. We leave at dawn. The next morning, Sarah's small team gathered at the eastern airlock of Proxima Station. The sky outside was just beginning to lighten with the first rays of the red dwarf sun, casting an otherworldly crimson glow across the alien landscape. Emily Parker was checking her equipment, a focused expression on her face. At 29, she was the youngest member of the team, but her expertise in xenobiology had earned her a place on this mission. Tyler Grant, on the other hand, looked less than thrilled to be there. The security officer's hand rested casually on his pulse rifle, his eyes constantly scanning the horizon for potential threats. "Everyone clear on the parameters of this mission?" Sarah asked, adjusting her environmental suit. Though the atmosphere of Proxima Centauri B was breathable for humans, all off-station excursions required protective gear as a precaution against unknown pathogens or radiation. "Collect samples, take readings, stay 50 meters from the water," Emily recited. "And under no circumstances are we to make contact with the lake itself." "Exactly," Sarah confirmed. "This is a scientific expedition, not a voyage of exploration. We follow Commander Walker's directives to the letter." Tyler snorted softly, earning a sharp look from Sarah. "Something to share, Officer Grant?" "Just that I've been stationed here long enough to know when scientists are lying to themselves," Tyler said bluntly. "You didn't drag us out at dawn to play it safe, Dr. Morgan. But my job is to make sure you all come back alive. So whatever you're planning, keep it within the realm of not suicidal, okay?" Sarah chose to ignore this and instead led the way out of the airlock. The terrain between the station and the lake was rocky but manageable, covered in the rust-colored vegetation that dominated much of the planet's surface. Proximans called these plants Velsha, which roughly translated to breath of life. They converted carbon dioxide to oxygen much like Earth plants, but through a biological process that Earth scientists were still working to fully understand. As they walked, Sarah activated her data collection devices, gathering information about the soil composition, atmospheric conditions, and energy readings. Everything seemed normal until they crested a small rise, and the lake came into full view. Sarah gasped, coming to an abrupt halt. Nathan nearly crashed into her from behind. "What's wrong?" he asked, then followed her gaze. Oh, the lake was different. Since their arrival on Proxima Centauri B, the colonists had observed the lake from a distance. It had always appeared as a tranquil, silvery blue expanse of water, beautiful but unremarkable save for its forbidden status. But now the lake's surface rippled with colors that shouldn't exist in nature. Impossibly deep purples, electric blues, and shimmering greens that seemed to pulse and shift like a living thing. The water itself appeared both solid and liquid simultaneously, defying the basic laws of physics. "That's new," Nathan whispered. "It's incredible," Emily breathed, already adjusting her sensors to capture data. "The bioluminescence alone is unlike anything in our records. And these energy readings, they're off the charts." Tyler took a step back, his hand tightening on his rifle. "I don't like this. It wasn't like this in any of the satellite imagery or drone footage." "Because it's never been like this before," Sarah said, her voice filled with wonder. "It's responding to something. Or someone." She took a step forward, but Nathan grabbed her arm. "The 50-meter limit, Sarah. Remember?" Reluctantly, Sarah nodded. "We'll set up the equipment here. Emily, start taking biological samples of everything within our perimeter. Nathan, help me with the atmospheric sensors. Tyler, keep watch. The Proximans rarely venture this far from their settlements, but better safe than sorry." The team worked efficiently, gathering data and samples as the red dwarf sun climbed higher in the sky. But Sarah found her attention constantly drawn back to the lake. The colors had intensified with the strengthening daylight, and now she could swear she heard something, not with her ears, but somehow inside her mind. A humming, a vibration that seemed to resonate with something deep within her. "Are you getting any audio anomalies?" she asked Nathan, who was monitoring the environmental sensors. He shook his head. "Nothing unusual." "What? I thought I heard." Sarah trailed off, not wanting to sound irrational. "Never mind. How are the readings looking?" "Fascinating," Nathan replied, pointing to the display. The energy patterns here matched those anomalies we detected in the upper atmosphere. There's definitely a connection, but I can't identify the source or mechanism. Sarah frowned, staring at the data. We need to get closer. Sarah, Nathan warned. Just a little closer, she insisted. We're still well outside the 50-meter boundary. We can move the equipment 20 meters forward and still be within Walker's parameters. Nathan looked skeptical but didn't argue as Sarah gathered her instruments and began moving toward the lake. The others followed, though Tyler made his disapproval clear with every reluctant step. At 30 meters from the shore, the humming in Sarah's mind grew stronger. It was almost like music now, a melody just beyond the range of conscious recognition. And beneath it, words, or what felt like words, forming and dissolving before she could grasp their meaning. Is anyone else hearing that? She asked, her voice strained. The others exchanged concerned glances. Hearing what, Dr. Morgan? Emily asked cautiously. That sound. Like singing almost. Coming from the lake. Tyler took a step toward her, his expression serious. There's no sound, Doctor. The lake is silent. Sarah shook her head, frustrated. Not with our ears. It's different. Like it's bypassing our normal senses somehow. Nathan placed a hand on her shoulder. Sarah, your vital signs are elevated. Maybe we should head back, analyze what we've collected so far. No, Sarah said firmly, shrugging off his hand. We need more data. I'm going to set up the molecular scanner closer to the shore. Before anyone could stop her, Sarah grabbed the scanner and strode purposefully toward the lake. The humming in her mind grew louder with each step, the almost words becoming clearer, though still tantalizingly out of reach. Dr. Morgan, Tyler called after her. You're approaching the boundary. Sarah barely heard him. She was caught in the pull of the lake, the mystery of it consuming her thoughts. 20 meters from shore. 15. 10. The colors on the lake's surface seemed to reach for her, tendrils of light stretching toward where she stood on the rocky shore. Sarah, stop. Nathan's voice finally broke through her trance, but it was too late. She stood at the very edge of the lake now, the scanner forgotten in her hand. The water, if it was truly water, lapped at the stones near her feet, each ripple sending out pulses of that strange, beautiful light. And the voice in her mind was clear now, a chorus of voices really, speaking in a language she shouldn't understand but somehow did. Asterisk, come closer, daughter of Earth. We have waited so long. Asterisk. Who are you? Sarah whispered, unaware that she had spoken aloud. Asterisk, we are the Guardians. The Keepers. The Memory. And you are the one we have waited for. Asterisk. Sarah took one more step forward, her boot touching the very edge of the water. Sarah, don't. Nathan shouted, running toward her. But something compelled her forward. Slowly, deliberately, Sarah removed her glove and reached down, her fingers hovering just above the shimmering surface of the forbidden lake. I need to know, she whispered. And then her fingers touched the water. The world exploded in light and sound and sensation. Sarah felt herself falling, drowning, flying, all at once. Images flooded her mind. Ancient cities rising and falling, civilizations spanning the stars, three worlds bound together by forces beyond comprehension. Earth, Proxima Centauri b, and a third world, distant and mysterious, yet somehow familiar. And through it all, the voice, now unmistakably a single entity, ancient and powerful, spoke directly into her soul. Asterisk, you carry the fate of three worlds, Sarah Morgan. The convergence approaches. The choice will be yours, asterisk. When Sarah came back to herself, she was lying on the shore, Nathan kneeling beside her, his face pale with worry. Emily was scanning her with medical instruments while Tyler stood guard, his rifle raised toward the lake as if expecting an attack. What happened? Sarah gasped, her throat raw as if she'd been screaming. You collapsed, Nathan said, relief evident in his voice now that she was conscious. Right after you. He hesitated, touched the lake. Sarah sat up slowly, her head spinning. How long was I out? Only a few seconds, Emily answered, still running her scanner over Sarah's body. But something's different. Your neural patterns, your cellular structure, there are changes. Sarah looked down at her hand, the one that had touched the water. It appeared normal, but it felt more, as if she could sense the world through it in ways she never had before. We need to get you back to the station, Nathan said firmly. Whatever happened, you need medical attention. Sarah nodded numbly, allowing them to help her to her feet. But as they began the journey back to Proxima Station, she couldn't shake the memory of what she had experienced, or the weight of the words that still echoed in her mind. You carry the fate of 3 worlds. Upon their return to the station, Sarah was immediately taken to the medical bay, where Dr. Lauren Bennett, the chief medical officer, ran a battery of tests. Nathan had come to head, so Commander Walker was waiting for them, his expression a mixture of concern and barely contained anger. 50 meters, Dr. Morgan, he said as Dr. Bennett attached sensors to Sarah's temples. Those were my explicit instructions. Care to explain why you deliberately disobeyed a direct order? Sarah met his gaze steadily, despite the pounding in her head. I can explain everything, Commander, but you might not believe me. Try me, Walker challenged, crossing his arms. Sarah took a deep breath. The lake, it's not what we think it is. It's not just water. It's some kind of repository. A database, maybe, or a collective consciousness. It contains the history, the memory of 3 civilizations. Earth, the Proximans, and another world I couldn't identify. Walker's expression remained skeptical. And you determined all this in the few seconds your hand was in contact with the water? It felt like much longer to me, Sarah admitted. I saw everything. Histories unfolding, civilizations rising and falling. And there was a voice, a presence that spoke to me. What did it say? Dr. Bennett asked, looking up from her instruments with genuine curiosity. It said I carry the fate of 3 worlds. That something called the convergence is approaching, and that the choice will be mine. Sarah shook her head. I don't understand what it means, but I know it's important. Vitally important. Walker exchanged a glance with Dr. Bennett. What are you finding in your examination, Doctor? Bennett gestured to her displays. Her readings are unusual. Elevated neural activity, particularly in the regions associated with memory and sensory processing. There are also some cellular changes I can't explain. Nothing dangerous from what I can tell, but definitely not normal human biology. Could it be a pathogen? Walker asked sharply. Some kind of alien infection? I don't think so, Bennett replied, still studying the readings. This looks more like an enhancement, as if her body is being optimized somehow. I'm not infected, Sarah insisted. I'm connected to the lake, to whatever intelligence resides within it. And I think that's why the Proximans declared it off limits. They know what it is, what it can do. Walker frowned deeply. We need to inform the Proximan Council about this incident. They warned us about the lake, and we violated their trust. No, Sarah said, suddenly alarmed. Not yet. Please, Commander, give me time to understand what's happening. If this convergence the voice mentioned is real, it could affect all of us, humans and Proximans alike. Walker studied her for a long moment. 24 hours, Dr. Morgan. That's all I can give you. After that, diplomatic protocol requires that I inform the Council of your transgression. Sarah nodded gratefully. Thank you, Commander. I promise I'll have something substantive for you by then. After Walker left, Dr. Bennett continued her examination in silence for several minutes before speaking. Off the record, Sarah, what was it like? Touching the lake, Sarah closed her eyes, remembering. Like waking up, as if everything before was a dream, and now I'm finally seeing reality clearly. There's so much knowledge inside me now, Bennett. Histories, technologies, languages I've never studied but somehow understand. It's overwhelming, but also beautiful. Bennett looked troubled. Be careful, Sarah. The human mind isn't designed to contain that kind of information. It could be dangerous. Or it could be exactly what we need, Sarah countered. The voice said I was the one they've waited for. What if this is why I was drawn to the lake all along? What if this is my purpose for being here? Just promise me you'll come back if you experience any negative symptoms, Bennett said. Headaches, disorientation, hallucinations, anything unusual. Sarah smiled wryly. Everything about this situation is unusual, Lauren. You know what I mean, Bennett replied sternly. Now get some rest. Doctor's orders. But rest was the furthest thing from Sarah's mind. As soon as she was released from the medical bay, she headed straight to her lab. Nathan was waiting for her, along with Emily and, surprisingly, Tyler. Should you be working? Nathan asked as she entered. You just experienced an alien, something. Shouldn't you be resting? No time, Sarah said, moving to her computer terminal. I need to document everything I saw, everything I felt, before the details start to fade. We're here to help, Emily offered. Just tell us what you need. Sarah looked at her team, her friends, gratefully. Thank you. I'm going to need all the help I can get. For the next several hours, Sarah dictated her experiences while Nathan recorded, and Emily cross-referenced the information with their existing knowledge of Proximan history and culture. Tyler, surprisingly, proved to be an excellent critical thinker, asking questions that helped Sarah clarify and organize the flood of information in her mind. As the day progressed, a pattern began to emerge. The three worlds the voice had mentioned, Earth, Proxima Centauri b, and the mysterious third planet, were somehow linked by what the ancient presence in the lake called the convergence. According to the fragments of knowledge Sarah had received, this convergence was a rare astronomical and metaphysical event that occurred once every several thousand years, when the three planets aligned in a specific way, creating a pathway between them. So it's like a planetary conjunction? Emily asked, trying to understand. Not exactly, Sarah replied, struggling to translate the concepts in her head into words. It's more complex than that. It's not just a physical alignment, but a resonance, a harmony between the fundamental frequencies of the three worlds. Nathan frowned. That doesn't make scientific sense, Sarah. Not according to our current understanding of science, Sarah acknowledged. But what if our understanding is incomplete? The Proximans have technologies that seem like magic to us. Their quantum entanglement communications, their gravity manipulation. What if this convergence operates on principles we haven't discovered yet? Assuming all this is real, Tyler interjected, what happens during this convergence? And what choice were you told you'd have to make? Sarah closed her eyes, trying to access the knowledge that had been imparted to her. The convergence creates a bridge, a connection between the three worlds that allows for transfer of energy, matter, possibly even consciousness. In the past, it was used by the Ancient Ones, the precursors to both humans and Proximans, to travel between worlds, to share knowledge and resources. Ancient Ones, Emily echoed. Are you saying humans and Proximans have a common ancestor? Yes, Sarah said, surprised by her own certainty. A highly advanced civilization that seeded all three worlds. They created the lakes. There's one on each planet, as repositories for their collective knowledge and as gateways between worlds. If that's true, it would rewrite everything we know about human evolution, Nathan said, looking stunned. And explain why the Proximans were so willing to share their world with us when we arrived, Emily added. If we're distant cousins. But what about the third world? Tyler asked. Where is it? What's it called? Sarah shook her head. I don't know. The knowledge is fragmentary. I get impressions, feelings, but not complete information. It's somewhere far from both Earth and Proxima Centauri, but somehow connected. And this convergence, Nathan pressed, when is it supposed to happen? Sarah looked up at him, her eyes wide. Soon. Very soon. I can feel it approaching, like pressure building before a storm. As if in response to her words, the lights in the lab flickered momentarily. A moment later, the station's alert system activated. All personnel, this is Commander Walker. The announcement came through the speakers. We are experiencing unusual energy fluctuations throughout the station. Engineering teams are investigating. Please remain at your posts and report any anomalies immediately. Sarah exchanged concerned glances with her team. It's starting, she whispered. What's starting? Tyler demanded. The convergence? Already. Before Sarah could respond, Dr. Bennett's voice came through on Sarah's personal communicator. Sarah, I need you in the medical bay immediately. Something's happening with your test results. On my way, Sarah replied, already heading for the door. The rest of you, gather all the data we have on the lake, the atmospheric anomalies, everything. We need to understand what we're dealing with. When Sarah arrived at the medical bay, she found Dr. Bennett staring at a holographic display of what appeared to be Sarah's DNA structure. Except it was changing, restructuring itself even as they watched. What am I looking at, Lauren? Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the fear tightening her chest. Your cellular structure is evolving, Bennett replied, not taking her eyes off the display. Rapidly. The changes I detected earlier have accelerated in the past hour. Your DNA is being rewritten, but in a way I've never seen before. It's like your genetic code is being optimized, made more efficient. Is it dangerous? Bennett finally looked at her. I don't know. By all medical metrics, you're healthier than you've ever been. Your immune system is stronger, your neural pathways more efficient, even your telomeres, the parts of chromosomes that affect aging, are regenerating. But this kind of rapid genetic modification should be impossible without massive cellular trauma, yet you're experiencing none. Sarah stared at the image of her transforming DNA. The lake did this to me. But why? What am I becoming? I think the better question is what you're being prepared for, Bennett said quietly. Before Sarah could respond, the station shook violently, nearly knocking them both off their feet. The lights flickered again, then went out completely, replaced moments later by the dull red glow of emergency lighting. Commander Walker's voice came over the emergency channel. All personnel, we are experiencing a station-wide power fluctuation. Emergency protocols are in effect. Department heads, report to the command center immediately. Go, Bennett told Sarah. You're medically stable, and I think Walker needs to hear what you know. Sarah nodded and hurried toward the command center, her mind racing. In the corridors, station personnel moved with purpose but without panic. They were all highly trained professionals who had drilled for emergencies countless times. When she reached the command center, Walker was surrounded by his senior staff, all speaking urgently over one another. Through the main viewport, Sarah could see that night had fallen, and in the distance, the lake glowed with an intensity that outshone the stars. Commander, Sarah called, making her way to Walker's side. I think I know what's happening. Walker turned to her, his expression grave. The power fluctuations started in the direction of the lake. Energy readings are off the charts and growing stronger. Whatever that thing is, it's affecting our systems. It's the convergence, Sarah explained. The alignment of the three worlds I told you about. It's beginning, and the lake is responding to it. Walker didn't waste time questioning her. What do we need to do? I need to go back to the lake, Sarah said firmly. I'm connected to it now. Whatever is happening, whatever choice I'm supposed to make, I can only do it there. Absolutely not, Walker replied. The energy emanating from that lake could kill you. It won't, Sarah said with certainty. It's changed me, prepared me for this very moment. Commander, please. I believe this is why I was drawn to Proxima Centauri b in the first place. Why I've been obsessed with the lake since I arrived. I was meant to be here for the convergence. Walker hesitated, clearly torn between protocol and the unprecedented situation they faced. Commander, Dr. Hayes interrupted, pointing to a display. The Proximan Council is requesting an emergency conference. Their settlements are experiencing similar phenomena. Walker nodded. Put them through. The main screen flickered to life, showing the imposing figure of Chief Counselor Thale, the leader of the Proximan governing body. Like all Proximans, Thale had iridescent skin that shifted colors with his emotions, currently pulsing a deep purple that indicated extreme concern. Commander Walker, Thale's translator converted his harmonic language into English. The sacred waters have awakened. The time of choosing is upon us earlier than our seers predicted. Has the vessel emerged among your people? Walker glanced at Sarah, understanding dawning on his face. I believe it has, Chief Counselor. Dr. Sarah Morgan made contact with the lake earlier today and has been changed by the experience. Thale's skin rippled with blues and golds, surprise and recognition. Then the ancient prophecies were correct. The vessel would come from the stars. His multifaceted eyes fixed on Sarah. You must go to the sacred waters, Dr. Morgan. Immediately. The convergence waits for no one, and the fate of 3 worlds hangs in the balance. What exactly is she supposed to do there? Walker demanded. Choose, Thales said simply. The waters hold the knowledge and power of the ancients. During convergence, that power can be directed to unite the 3 worlds as in ancient times, to sever their connection forever, or to maintain the current balance. The choice belongs to the vessel alone. Sarah stepped forward. I'll go, but I'll need transportation. The lake is too far to reach on foot in time. Walker nodded reluctantly. Take a skimmer. Dr. Brooks and Officer Grant will accompany you to the perimeter, but you alone will approach the lake. He turned to Sarah, his expression deadly serious. Choose wisely, Dr. Morgan. The lives of everyone on this station, on this planet, may depend on it. Within minutes, Sarah found herself aboard a skimmer with Nathan and Tyler, racing toward the lake under a star-filled night sky. The lake's glow was visible for kilometers, a beacon calling her home. I should be terrified, Sarah said as they sped across the alien landscape. But all I feel is purpose. Like everything in my life has led to this moment. Nathan reached across and squeezed her hand. Just come back to us, Sarah. Whatever choice you make out there, promise me you'll come back. Sarah squeezed his hand in return, but made no promises she wasn't sure she could keep. As they approached the lake, the skimmer's engines began to sputter and fail, affected by the intense energy field emanating from the water. This is as far as we go, Tyler announced, bringing the vehicle to a stop about 200 meters from the shore. The energy readings are too strong for the engines. I'll walk from here, Sarah said, unbuckling her harness. Nathan caught her arm. Sarah, be careful. She smiled at him, a strange serenity filling her. Whatever happens, Nathan, know that this is right. This is where I'm meant to be. With that, she stepped out of the skimmer and began walking toward the lake. With each step, the humming in her mind grew stronger, the voices of the ancient presence calling to her, guiding her forward. The lake no longer merely glowed. It pulsed with light and energy, its surface a swirling vortex of impossible colors. Above it, the sky seemed to be folding in on itself, creating a window through which Sarah could glimpse other worlds. Earth with its blue oceans and white clouds, and another planet, red and mysterious, that she somehow knew was the third world. As Sarah reached the shore, a figure emerged from the glowing waters, not physical, but a projection of light and energy in the form of a being both human and not. It spoke, and this time, Sarah heard the voice not just in her mind but in the air around her. The vessel has come, it said, its voice like music and thunder combined. The convergence is at hand. The choice must be made. Who are you? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. We are the memory of the ancients, the ones who seeded the 3 worlds with life in our image. We created the gateways, what you call lakes, to connect our children when the time was right. And that time is now. The convergence. Yes, the being confirmed. The 3 worlds align in body and spirit, creating a bridge between realms. You must choose the path forward. What are my choices? Sarah asked, struggling to comprehend the enormity of the responsibility placed upon her. The being gestured, and 3 visions appeared before her. You may reunite the 3 worlds, as they were in ancient times. Open the gateways permanently, allowing free passage between Earth, Proxima, and Tau Ceti, the 3rd world where your cousins also thrive. This will bring great knowledge and advancement, but also the potential for conflict as cultures clash. The vision showed a future of incredible technological marvels, of humans and aliens living and working together across 3 planets, but also scenes of tension and occasional violence as the different societies struggled to integrate. You may sever the connection forever, maintaining the separation of the 3 worlds. Each will develop according to its own destiny, never to know the others fully. This brings safety through isolation but denies the potential of unity. This vision revealed three distinct civilizations, each advancing along its own path, safe from outside influence, but also limited by their isolation, never achieving the heights that cooperation might have made possible. Or you may maintain the balance, allow for connection but not union. The gateways would open only during convergence, permitting limited exchange while preserving the unique identity of each world. The final vision showed a middle path, periodic contact between the worlds during convergence events, sharing of knowledge and culture without full integration, a slow and careful coming together of three branches of the same family tree. The choice is yours, vessel. You were chosen because you understand both the yearning for discovery and the wisdom of caution. Your heart spans worlds. Your mind embraces difference. Choose now, for the convergence reaches its peak. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of three civilizations resting on her decision. She thought of Earth, her home, with its long history of both terrible destruction and magnificent creation. She thought of Proxima Centauri b, where humans and Proximans had forged a fragile but promising partnership. And she thought of this unknown third world, Tau Ceti, where another branch of their shared ancestry had evolved along its own path. What right did she have to make this choice for them all? But then, perhaps that was why she had been chosen, not because she had all the answers, but because she understood the magnitude of the question. Sarah opened her eyes, her decision made. I choose balance, she said firmly. Connection without domination. Exchange without loss of identity. Let the three worlds meet and share during convergence, but let each follow its own star between these times. The being seemed to smile, though it had no true face. A wise choice, vessel. The balance will be maintained. The gateways will open during convergence, allowing for the exchange of knowledge, culture, and carefully chosen emissaries. In between, memories of these connections will remain, guiding each world toward the next meeting. Will I remember? Sarah asked. Will I remember all of this? You are the vessel, the being replied. You will carry the memory of the ancients within you, to guide your people until the next convergence. You are the bridge, Sarah Morgan, the living gateway between worlds. The being raised what might have been a hand, touching Sarah's forehead. A surge of knowledge, even greater than what she had experienced before, flowed into her mind. But this time, it settled into place with perfect clarity, organized and accessible rather than overwhelming. Go now, the being said, already beginning to fade. The convergence wanes. Carry our gift to all three worlds. Prepare them for the next meeting. Wait, Sarah called. When will that be? When is the next convergence? Time flows differently between worlds. The being's voice was growing distant. What seems a lifetime to you may be but a moment elsewhere. But know this, you will see it come again, vessel. You will guide the three worlds through many convergences to come. With those enigmatic words, the being dissolved into light, merging back into the lake, which now began to calm, its wild energies subsiding to a gentle glow. Sarah stood for a moment at the water's edge, absorbing everything that had happened. She felt changed, not just physically, but in her very essence. The knowledge of the ancients hummed within her, no longer overwhelming but a part of her, as natural as breathing. She turned and began walking back toward where Nathan and Tyler waited with the skimmer. In the distance, she could see lights from Proxima Station, where life would soon return to normal, or what would pass for normal now that the truth about their shared origins was known. As Sarah walked, she became aware of a new sensation, a connection not just to the lake behind her, but to similar lakes on Earth and Tau Ceti. Through these connections, she could sense others like herself, vessels chosen on the other worlds, sharing this moment of understanding across the vast distances of space. We are not alone, she thought. We never were. Nathan ran to meet her as she approached the skimmer. Sarah, are you all right? What happened? Sarah smiled, taking his hands in hers. I'm fine, Nathan. Better than fine. And I have so much to tell you, to tell everyone. As they returned to the station, Sarah explained what she had learned and the choice she had made. Nathan listened with growing amazement, occasionally interrupting with questions that Sarah answered with a clarity and certainty that surprised even herself. "So we're related to the Proximants?" he asked as the station came into view. "And these Tausetians as well? We all evolved from the same ancient civilization." "Yes," Sarah confirmed. "The ancients seeded all three worlds with life patterned after themselves. Over millions of years, that life evolved differently on each planet, adapting to local conditions. But at our core, we're the same species, branches of the same family tree. And now we can visit each other? Through the lakes. Only during convergence," Sarah explained. "Which happens rarely. But we can exchange knowledge, send emissaries, prepare for greater cooperation in the future." "And you're what?" "Some kind of ambassador now." Sarah considered this. "More like a librarian, I think. I carry the knowledge of the ancients, their history, their science, their wisdom. My job is to share it, to help all three worlds understand their common heritage and prepare for the next convergence." "And you'll live to see the next one?" "That's what the being told you." Sarah nodded. "I don't fully understand it yet, but yes. The changes to my DNA, my cellular structure, they've extended my lifespan, among other things. I'm still human, Nathan, just more." Nathan shook his head in wonder. "Sarah Morgan, guardian of ancient knowledge and bridge between worlds. It suits you somehow." "It does, doesn't it?" Sarah agreed, surprising herself. "As if I've finally found what I was looking for all along." As they docked at the station, Commander Walker and Chief Counselor Thale were waiting for them, along with a crowd of humans and Proximants. News of what had happened had spread quickly. Sarah stepped forward to address them, feeling the weight of her new role, but also the strength to bear it. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for our worlds," she began. "We have learned that we are not strangers meeting by chance, but family reuniting after a long separation. The knowledge I now carry will help us understand our shared past and build a common future." She went on to explain about the ancients, the three worlds, and the convergence, answering questions from both humans and Proximants with the wisdom that now flowed through her. She could see in their faces the same wonder and hope that she felt, the realization that the universe was both larger and smaller than they had imagined, filled with cousins they hadn't known they had. In the days that followed, Sarah worked tirelessly to document and share the knowledge she had gained. She established a new research center at the lake, no longer forbidden but now sacred to both species, where scientists and scholars from both human and Proximant society could study the gateway and the history it contained. And on quiet nights, when her work was done, Sarah would stand at the lake's edge and reach out with her newly enhanced senses to touch the minds of her counterparts on Earth and Tau Ceti. Though separated by vast distances, they were united in purpose. Guardians of the ancient knowledge, protectors of the balance between worlds, and guides for the journey that lay ahead. For Sarah Morgan had indeed touched the forbidden lake, and an ancient voice had whispered that she carried the fate of three worlds. But what she had found was not a burden to be borne alone, but a gift to be shared with all. The knowledge that across the stars, life recognized life, and family would always find a way back to family. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.